Okay, everybody, this is the fifth Tuesday and Tuesdays with Maury. So, the fifth Tuesday, we talk about family. It was the first week in September, back to school week, and after 35 consecutive autumns, my old professor did not have a class waiting for him on college campus. Boston was teeming with students, double parked on the side streets, unloading trunks, and here was Maury in his study. It seemed wrong, like those football players who finally retire and have to face their first Sunday at home, watching on TV, thinking, I could still do that. I've learned from dealing with those players that it is best to just leave them alone when their old seasons come around. Don't say anything. But then I didn't need to remind Maury of his dwindling time. For our taped conversations, we had switched with our hand to handheld we had switched from handheld microphones because it was too difficult for Maury to hold anything that long, to the lavalier, kind of popular with TV news people. You can clip these onto the collar or lapel. Of course, since Maury only wore soft cotton shirts that hung loosely to his ever shrinking frame, the microphone sagged and flopped, and I had to reach over and adjust it frequently. Maury seemed to enjoy this because it brought me closer to him in hugging range, and his need for physical affection was stronger than ever. When I leaned in, I heard his wheezing breath and his weak coughing, and he smacked his lips softly before he swallowed. Well, my friend, he said, what are we talking about today? How about family? Family. He mulled it over for a moment. Well, you see mine all around me. He nodded to the photos on his bookshelves of Maury as a child with his grandmother, Maury as a young man with his brother David, Maury with his wife Charlotte, Maury with his two sons Rob, a journalist in Tokyo, and John, a computer expert in Boston. I think, in light of what we've been talking about all these weeks, family has become more important, he said. The fact is, there is no foundation, no secure ground upon which people may stand today if it wasn't for family. It's become quite clear to me that I've been sick. If you don't have the support and love, caring, and concern that you get from family, then you don't have much at all. Love is so supremely important. As our great poet Auden once said, love each other or perish. Love each other or perish. I wrote it down. Auden said that? Love each other or perish, Maury said. It's so good, no? And it's so true. Without love, we are the birds with broken wings. Say I was divorced or living alone or had no children. This disease, what I'm going through, would be so much harder. I'm not sure I could do it. Sure, people would come to visit, friends, associates, but it's not the same as having someone who will not leave. It's not the same as having someone whom you know has an eye on you, is watching you the whole time. This is a part of what a family is about, not just love, but letting others know there's something who's watching out for them. It's what I missed so much when my mother died, what I call your spiritual security. Knowing that your family will be there watching out for you, nothing else will give you that. No money, nor fame. He shot a look at me. And not work, he added. Raising a family was one of those issues on my list. Things you want to get right before it's too late. I told Maury about my generation's dilemma with having children, how we often saw them as tying us down, making us into these parent things that we did not want to be. I admitted to some of those emotions myself. Yet, when I looked at Maury, I wondered if I were in his shoes, about to die, and I had no family, no children, what emptiness would the emptiness be unbearable? He had raised his two sons so that they would be loving and caring, and like Maury, they were not shy with their affection. Had he so desired, they would have stopped what they were both doing, with their stopped what they were both doing with their father to be with their father every minute of his final months. But that was not what he wanted. Do not stop your lives, he told them, otherwise this disease will have ruined the three of us instead of one. In this way, even as he was dying, he showed respect for his children's world. Little wonder that when they sat Little wonder that when they sat with him, they were in a waterfall of affection, lots of kisses and jokes, and crouching by the side of the bed holding hands. Whenever people ask me about having children or not having children, I never tell them what to do, Maury said. Now looking at the photo of his oldest son, I simply say there's no experience like having children. That's all. There's no substitute for it. You can't do it with a friend. You can't do it with a lover. If you want to experience of having complete responsibility for another human being and to learn how to love and bond in the deepest way, then you should have children. So you would do it again? I asked. I glanced at the photo of Rob, where he was kissing Maury on the forehead, and Maury was laughing with his eyes closed. Would I do it again? He looked at me, surprised. Mitch, I would not have missed that experience for anything. Even though he swallowed and put the picture in his lap. Even though this is a painful price to pay, he said, because you'll be leaving them, because I'll be leaving them soon. He pulled his lips together and closed his eyes, and I watched the first teardrop fall down the side of his cheek. And now, he whispered, you talk? Me? Your family? I know about your parents. I met them years ago at graduation. You have a sister too, yes? Yes, I said. Older, yes, older. And one brother, right? I nodded. Younger. Like me, Maury said. I have a younger brother. Like you, I said. He also came to graduation, didn't he? I blinked, and in my mind I saw the three of us 16 years earlier in the hot sun with the blue robes, squinting as we put our arms around each other and posed for an instamatic photo. Someone saying, 1, 2, 3. What is it? Maury said, noticing my sudden quiet. What's on your mind? Nothing, I said, changing the subject. The truth is, I do indeed have a brother, a blonde-haired, hazel-eyed, 2 years younger than me brother, who looks so unlike me or my dark-haired sister that we used to tease him by claiming strangers had left him as a baby on our doorstep. And one day, he said, they're coming back to get you. He cried when we said this, but he cried when we said this, but we said it just the same. He grew up the way many youngest children grow up, pampered, adored, inwardly tortured. He shows he dreamed of being an actor or a singer. He reenacted TV shows at the dinner table, playing every part, his brightest smile practically jumping through his lips. I was the good student and he was the bad. I was the obedient. He broke the rules. I stayed away from drugs and alcohol, and he tried everything he could ingest. He moved to Europe not long after high school, preferring the more casual lifestyle he found there. Yet he remained the family favorite. When he visited home in his wild and funny presence, I often felt stiff and conservative. As different as we were, I reasoned with our fates would shoot in opposite directions once we hit adulthood. I was right in all ways but one. From the day my uncle died, I believed that I would suffer a similar death, an ultimate disease that would take me out. So I worked at a feverish pace, and I braced myself for cancer. I could feel its breath. I knew it was coming. I waited for it, the way a condemned man waits for the executioner. And I was right. It came, but it missed me and struck my brother. The same type of cancer as my uncle, the pancreas, a rare form, and as the youngest of our family with the blonde hair and the hazel eyes, had chemotherapy and the radiation. His hair fell out. His face went gaunt as a skeleton. It's supposed to be me, I thought, but my brother was not me, and he was not my uncle. He was a fighter, and had been since his youngest days, when we wrestled in the basement, and he actually bit through my shoe until I screamed in pain and let him go. And so he fought back. He battled the disease in Spain where he lived with the aid of experimental drug that was not and still not available in the United States. He flew all over Europe for treatments. After 5 years of treatment, the drug appeared to chase the cancer into remission. That was the good news. The bad news was my brother did not want me around, not me nor anyone in our family. Much as we tried to call and visit, he held us at bay, insisting that this fight was something he needed to do by himself. Months would pass without a word from him. Messages on his answering machine would go without a response. I was ripped with guilt for what I felt I should be doing for him and fueled with anger for his denying us the right to do it. So once again, I drove into work. I worked because I could control it. I worked because work was sensible and responsive, and each time I would call my brother's apartment in Spain and get the answering machine, him speaking in Spanish, another sign of how far apart we had grown. I would hang up and work some more. Perhaps this is one reason I was drawn to Maury. He let me be where my brother would not. Looking back, perhaps Maury knew this all along. Flashback. It is the winter of my childhood on a snow-packed hill in our suburban neighborhood. My brother and I are on the sled, him on top, me on the bottom. I feel his chin on my shoulder and his feet on the back of my knees. The sled rumbles on icy patches beneath us. We pick up speed as we descend down the hill. Cars! Someone yells. We see it coming down the street to our left, and we scream and try to steer it away. But the runners do not move. The driver slams his horn and hits the brake, and we do what all kids do. We jump off. In our hooded parkas, we roll like logs in the cold, wet snow, thinking the next thing to touch us will be the hard rubber of a tire. We're yelling, ah! And we are tingling with fear, turning over and over and over, and the world upside down, right side up, upside down, and then nothing. We stop rolling and catch our breath and wipe our dripping snow from our faces. The driver turns down the street, wagging his finger. We're safe. Our sled has thudded quietly into a snowbank, and our friends are slapping us now, saying, cool, you could have died. I grin at my brother, and we are united by a childish pride. That wasn't so hard, we think, and we are ready to take on death again.